Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Well, fresh off the heels of finishing up the majority of our trunk pan install, we've still got quite a bit of work to do there, but this is going to be a really big episode, and we're going to knock out a lot of things and make some huge progress. So we're going to first start off by getting our tail panel all cleaned up here. You can see right now it's just clecoed into place, all of our holes lined up, but we've got some rust repair issues that we got to deal with here. We've got a lot of surface rust going on that we're going to wire wheel off, as well as some outright holes and repairs that we're going to have to do. So we'll get that all wrapped up. We will then move on to the trunk latch support. We've got our braces here on either side that we'll have to weld in. And then from there, we get to take out our brand new Auto Metal Direct full quarter panels, lay them out, and kind of start planning on where we're going to splice in those quarter panels on this car. Obviously, this car is a convertible. They do not make quarter panels that are specific for convertibles, so we're gonna have to take a full quarter panel with the sail panel on it, kind of lay it out and figure out the best place that we can section it in with this car. So more than likely, we'll be cutting it here above the body line and yeah, making it look seamless. And in the process, we've also got to wheel this entire thing in here, clean all this up, get it into the rust preventative, and make it all like new, and hopefully never ever have to deal with rust issues again. So we'll get those all fit up, and then we've also got one more repair to do up here, and that's this lower radiator support piece. So we're going to be chopping this whole thing out here, and you know, over the years it just looks like somebody threw a chain on this thing or ran into something, maybe both. Either way, it's got to come out, and we're going to replace it and make it look like new again. So yeah, this thing is really coming along, guys. Having the trunk pan wrapped up, having the floor pan finished up, that rear seat pan there is in really good shape. So essentially, we've got a great foundation to build off of. And now it's time to do some fun stuff, because man, with this thing having brand new quarter panels on it, it's gonna look pretty badass. So enough talking, we got a lot of work to do. Let's get it done. Alrighty, you guys, so a lot of work done on the back half of the car here. Let's take a quick walkthrough of everything that was done because we're going to start to get on to the exciting part. First and foremost, the tail panel welded on the car. All the welds are dressed out, turned out really nice. We've got our trunk latch support. We've also got our tail panel supports here on each side. They went right back in the exact same holes that they came out of, and yeah, it went together just fine. One thing that's interesting, that if you didn't have references or all that stuff, you'd think that you'd probably throw that dead center on the car. You can see it actually sits off center. Did not know that, but glad that we had those reference points, and you can see we drilled those 3 holes when we pulled that out, and we put it right back in the exact same spot. From there, wrapped up these corner pieces here. You know, there's a lot, I think, still that's hiding underneath of these rear quarter panels, but the good thing is that where a lot of the ugly is here, like all these holes and things, I hope you guys can see that. We're gonna be cutting all that stuff out when we go to lay on this fresh, brand new AMD quarter panel. And we'll be able to cut everything that kind of laps over the edge there, the entire top of the trunk gutter rail. You know, a lot of the parts that you'd otherwise have to repair, we're going to be cutting off and doing all at once with this fresh quarter panel. So that's going to be really, really nice to do that. And again, kind of where the ugly starts here, it's all going to be cut off, and this piece will overlap right there, and you'll never know that we cut it out of there. Looking at the trunk hinges here, one thing that I did not record on video is that before I welded those in solid, kind of where they fell on the top side here, because they obviously went back in the original holes we drilled on the wheelhouses. I did test fit the deck lid, and I put the bars here, the hinges up into the deck lid, and got everything where I wanted it. Took a marker, traced out on the inside of there, and then welded it right there when we pulled it back off. So that ensures that, you know, even though there's quite a bit of adjustability here, well, really a lot of adjustability, there's a whole lot more to the outside than there is on the inside here, and we didn't want the hinges welded in at the wrong angle. So we got those spot on where they needed to be. A lot of time here, a lot of work here, but it's time to move on to some more, much more exciting stuff. And that is the full quarter panels. Now, with this car being a convertible, you know, AMD and other companies, they only sell the full quarters, or I guess you could get skins in some cases here, but really the top sections here had quite a bit of issues. You know, along the trunk gutter rail here, we had a lot of issues too. So doing it this way, I think, is the best way to do it for this car. But, you know, we are going to have to cut quite a bit of this panel, and where some would say this is kind of scary, I won't say scary, I'll say it's the more difficult part of this entire job. But we are going to be cutting along this tape line here, and we're going to be sectioning it in to the original metal on the car. Looking at the front side here, a couple differences that I did notice. You can see like this window support piece here that goes all the way across the top. On the convertible, it actually stops like right here. So my thought there is that I don't want to mess with any of this stuff on the original car because it is in really nice shape. So instead, we're going to section it back here where we don't have those issues, and by doing that, it'll allow us to wrap this corner as well. But we've got to get the body line just right down the side, and then also the body line right here. I think those will probably be, call it, the more difficult parts of this job, is just making that seamless transition and keeping those lines nice and crisp from front to back. Everything along the wheelhouse, all the way up through the jam here, we've got the lead seam down there that we're gonna have to melt out here momentarily, but the rest of this stuff should come out. Not too worried about any of that. So if I squint hard enough and I stand back, I can see a completed car. Although we still have a lot of work to do before it gets to that point. And, you know, unfortunately in this episode, guys, we are not going to be welding on this quarter panel. We're going to get it fit, get the actual car itself trimmed to where we need it, and then this thing is going off to blast. So we're going to be epoxying the inside of all the inner structure here, making sure that, you know, we don't have any rust that continues to creep on us anywhere here. But basically everything that's the original gold color is going to be blasted, freshly epoxied. We're going to lizard skin the inside of this quarter panel before we put it on, and yeah, a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, we got to do it in sequence, and we want to make sure we do it right. Alrighty guys, well, with a little bit of movie magic here, both sides of the car are completely done and all of the old quarter panel bits are removed off the car. So here's what it looks like. There's really no magic here, just take off everything that's part of the old quarter panel. So everything along the outside of the taillight bucket there. You guys probably saw that trick that I do where if you grind kind of on this 90-degree edge, you can just split these panels off and you can take off huge sections of the panel all at once there. You can kind of see how that all came off all in one pretty simple piece. You ain't got to dick around with you know, drilling it all out and then prying it, and I don't know, I just find it a lot cleaner to do it that way. It's also a whole lot easier to get in here with the grinder and just work your way down it, pry it, do what you need to do, and the panel turns out a whole lot cleaner. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this thing is going to go to the blaster next, so we do have a little bit of rust repair here on the trunk channels that we'll have to address at a later date. There's also a really weird slice right here. That was not caused by my grinding wheel. I don't know where that came from, but we'll go ahead, clean that up, and we'll seal that up. But you can see we left a whole lot of meat on top and where we're going to section this in at. We saved that body line on both sides here. And you guys will see in just a second where we taped the new quarter panel. We're going to cut it kind of higher so that way we can, you know, slowly, progressively work our way down if we need to. You know, we can cut both panels where the tape line is, or if we decide that we want to keep this original body line, we can, and we can cut the new panel a little bit lower. We've got all the metal removed off of where it wraps around the front as well. And then probably the most impressive part of this entire thing is how clean the outer rockers are. So on the Cuda, you guys probably remember we had a big section back here. On the Charger, I'm pretty sure from here all the way back was completely rotted out, and it just naturally happens. The water intrudes all the way from the top all the way down to the bottom here, collects right here, and it just completely rusted away. And thankfully we don't have to worry about that on this car. So this is pretty much at the stage where we threw the new panel on this other side, and you guys can see, man, the fitment is sweet already, and it's going to get even better once we build up the courage to make those cuts and drop this thing right on top. And it should already be a pretty decent fit here, and hopefully lines right up for us. Now, I did save the front of this piece here, and I think it'll end up being a little bit cleaner cut, probably be a little bit easier to section in this top body line here, having a little bit to work off of. But who knows, may change my mind, may decide to cut that straight across and just section it in right over the top of the original piece. Good fitment already here around the wheelhouse, and then again, without even trying, guys, I mean, it's already super tight all the way around there. So again, that's what you get with AMD, guys, the best of the best. So highly, highly recommended. Got the other quarter panel already out of the box, arrived in perfect shape. So we'll test our theory. We'll make this cut here along the bottom edge of this yellow line, and we're gonna say our prayers and hope that it fits good. So let's grab some grinding wheels and let's get this piece cut. right, guys, well, we look at that. It's almost too easy. It really just fell into place. And now I know I probably freaked a lot of you guys out. You probably thought that I was making cuts directly onto the original quarter panel here. Don't worry, it was raised up. I was not doing that. But yeah, the fitment overall is really, really nice here. All the way around, everything super, super tight. And one thing I was worried about actually on this side, you guys probably caught it, but around in here somewhere, the original quarter panel, especially on the body line, was really jacked up. I hit it with a hammer dolly, got it as straight as I could, but having this go up as far as it does, you really can't see it whatsoever, and it should buff out just fine. Looking down here in the wheelhouse, again, really tight fitment. With this being all original sheet metal, guys, on the wheelhouses, you know, it better fit up close to original, and thankfully it does. Good fitment around the taillight housings here, and man, guys, the fitment overall is fantastic. You know, to be honest with you, this is actually my first time ever sectioning in full quarters into a convertible, and I think it's gonna work out just fine. From here, you know, our body lines line up, you can see that front to back, and this is just laying on top of it, and it's gonna get even better fit once we cut out the original quarter panel here around this line, and everything should drop into place. But we have to fit our doors and we have to fit our fenders before we do that. And the reason for that is that I don't know how high, how low, you know, if this panel's twisted, if it's poking out too much, we don't know. And right now I've got my doors and also the fenders, the hinges, a bunch of other parts at the blaster. I should have them back this weekend. We can get those into epoxy, get them hung onto the car, try to get everything lined up. There's really just this one body line here, and then we'll also have to worry about our panel transitions this way as well. Line up the top body line, and she should be good to lock in, because everything on your car, guys, is all based off the quarter panels. So if these are jacked up or down in either direction, the rest of your car is going to be jacked up, and your lines are going to look like absolute dog shit on your entire car. So we're not going to do that. So as badly as I want to cut this more, fit them, weld them, I can't do that right now. We're going to move on to the last piece that I showed you guys that I would knock out in this video, and that is this ugly ass radiator support piece here on the bottom. So it doesn't look too difficult. You guys can see there's a couple original spot welds here. We'll take some measurements just to make sure the distance here is the same, you know, across there, and we'll weld her up. right, guys, well, a big episode, a lot of progress was made here, and I honestly could not be happier with where everything is sitting. So I mentioned earlier, a lot of the parts, the panels, the different things, they're currently at the blaster. I really hope I get those back here within the next few days so I can get those straight into epoxy and then really get this car onto a trailer and get this thing blasted, because we've got snow creeping its way down the mountain already. The colors are changing. It's getting colder out. I think right now it's like 45 degrees. So our 70-day plus days are limited, and that's where we really should be with this car when we throw it into epoxy. I really would hate to have to heat the garage and paint it in the garage, because it always makes one hell of a mess, but we may have to do that, unfortunately. But we got our quarter panel set. Like I said earlier, we are going to wait to get our parts back from blast, get them in epoxy, get new door seals on, fit everything, because again, the shape of that quarter panel can either go in, can go out. We want to make sure that it lines up with those beautiful original doors that we have for this car. You know, because if your quarters are off, that means your doors are off, that means your fenders are off, that means everything is off, and we want to avoid that. So as bad as I want to jump ahead and get that done, we're kind of in a holding pattern with that. But went ahead, we got a radiator support piece in. This went in actually really easy. I think all said and done, I don't think I was more than an hour and a half into doing that part, and yeah, went in really easy. There was one little bracket back here that had actually never been welded in from the factory. It was just completely loose and kind of hanging there. So for 50 years, that sat the way that it was. But we went ahead, we plug welded this guy in. Took a few different measurements here, like this hole to the top hole right here, I believe is like 8 3/4 on both sides. And then I actually used the charger for reference for this part here to the top. These two lips together, I believe it was 18 5/16. So let's make a match, and yeah, shouldn't have any issues with that. So in the meantime, guys, while I wait for the parts to come back, we've still got a US Car Tools Stage 2 chassis stiffening kit. So we're going to be doing subframe connectors on this thing. With it being a convertible, it already has the torque boxes, so that's going to save me some time. We've got the radiator support piece. We've got a couple little things that we'll do. This car is not getting mini tubbed, so it's getting everything else with the exception of that. And yeah, we can go ahead and put those on. We've also got a couple little patch pieces here and there, window channel work. But man, guys, this a lot of the big panels are for the most part done. Obviously, the biggest panels are still left to do here, but getting these things cut down and also seeing just how beautiful that transition is going to be, it is going to make this job so much easier. And the good thing is too, I'm pretty limited on the lead work that I'll need to do. It's just at the bottom of the quarter panels. So, well guys, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. So we're going to keep on working on this thing, try to turn it out as fast as we can, so that way we can work on the Ratty Saddy, because it's sitting here looking all sorts of beautiful, and we can't wait to dig into that engine, find out everything that was wrong with it, and we are going to build a monster of a race car. I can't wait to show you guys. So stay tuned, take care, I'll see you again real soon.